Hey guys, welcome back out to the channel. Kyle here, and I have before you a lovely set of finished ported heads. This is for our 1904 VW project, and this is probably a lengthy video at this point that to be quite honest with you, that I've been a little bit reluctant to even release because I did all this work this past week, and I've been debating on whether to release it or not, just because I consider porting to be somewhat of a science, and the last thing I want to do is send someone down the primrose path of taking away material from their heads that doesn't need to be taken away. So I will get in today of showing you sort of what I did. It's not a step-by-step process, but showing you what I did, why I did it, and I believe that I have done pretty decent work on this. There's no doubt in my mind that we haven't improved things for my combination. Everybody's combination is a little bit different, but this was somewhat of I hated to throw the boat anchor out on the assembly of our engine, but this was a super needed process, I think, with what we were doing, considering we're using a stock valve size, which I'll explain why I used. I had these heads, and I felt like if we had left them alone and just put them on the engine, it would be like having some clogged arteries on the flow. And nobody wants clogged arteries. That's why you should walk daily and eat decent. So the same works with an engine. And so I felt for our combo, to get the most out of what we had to do this. So they're done, and the boat anchor is being lifted, and we are setting sail for the rest of this project. So anyways, if you're thinking about doing porting, maybe give this video a look. Hopefully you'll learn something. I wouldn't say copy what I've done, but at least maybe I'll show you what I did and why, and I will talk about Bill Fisher's book, by the way, as we're going through it. And you make the decision yourself. And but nevertheless, I think we've made some great improvements. I'm excited to get this thing bolted up. They're ready to bolt up right now. And we will be getting to that probably tomorrow. So anyways, roll that beautiful bean footage. Hey guys, welcome back out to the channel. Kyle here. And today we are going to be doing something really fun, or not, depends on how you look at it. We're going to be finishing up the port work on our Volkswagen heads here. I've got one that has been completed and one that I have not done yet, and I left it that way so we could talk about it for a second and discuss it. You could probably tell I've got a little bit of difference in the size of the opening of the port. Looks a little bit cleaner inside. So why are we doing this? Why even bother with it? Well, these are stock valve heads, and on my combination, which is a 1904 cc VW engine, which means it's 90.5 pistons and cylinders, which I've had enlarged, with a 74 millimeter stroke, I'm going to be pulling more air out, or pulling more air in the system, so I need better flow. In fact, even on a stock 1600 or 1641 cc with even a smaller stock piston, a slight bit of port work really will help out. We learned this because of this great book here. This is an oldie but a goodie. It's called How to Hot Rod Volkswagen Engines, and it was written by Bill Fisher in 1970. So this thing was published over a decade before I was even born, and it is still a great source of information. I've got this old cover here, which I think is awesome. I love the cover art. I managed to pick that up years ago. They still make this, still publish it, but you'll see it with a different cover. And anyways, great source of information. Now, being that it was 1970, in a lot of ways, some of the info is outdated, but hot rodding, just the stock stuff, remains the same. You know, when I got this, one of the coolest things I found in it was how much information there was on things you wouldn't think about, like distributors. Volkswagen makes quite a few different distributors, and every one is not exactly the same. you've got variants in the ignition curve, and he went through a bunch of them that were available at the time and sort of graphed out the distributor curve. In fact, I found that I used a distributor from an auto stick on my buggy back here once. Actually, it may still be on there, and actually it is, now I think of it, and it ramps up quicker, which I kind of liked whenever I was taking off. But anyways, I digress. But the best thing in here, oh yeah, it had information on old carburation, which some of it isn't even around anymore. You can't even get some of these, but some of the best information here is that in the section on the heads, because in reality that's where Volkswagen makes its power. The heads, stock as they are, aren't the greatest. It's not the best design. We have better shapes in modern cars that make a heck of a difference. But he went through this section on heads in porting. He found out, he did all these objective tests to find out what flows well and what brings horsepower, and those things that didn't. Went through a lot of iterations, and he graphed it out. And we learned something really cool here, is that you know, he graphed out what the stock port was and all that, but then just a stock head with just a little bit of port work really just outperformed. So even the stock can really help. And then this book also has some pictures. I recommend this for anybody that plans on doing this. You know, they're black and white, sometimes hard to understand, but some good pictures to kind of help sort of explain what you're doing. You know, porting is one of these things that you don't really want to jump into uninformed, because it is an objective science. Guys like David Vizard have spent their lives working through heads, working through flow, velocity, valve sizes, you name it, finding out things that work and things that just are disastrous for horsepower. And Mr. Fisher, of course, did this on the Volkswagen end of things. But it's a science, and so by doing it wrong, you can actually come out worse off than where you were if you just left it alone. So I came into it a bit nervous, but I ended up walking away with this head feeling very positive about the experience. It's tedious work, but it was enjoyable, I found. And so anyways, I may be giving you a little bit less objective truth, and it'll be a little bit more subjective, but you know, that's for everybody has their own way, and I'm certainly not going to vary away too much from what works. So we're not trying to turn the earth here. We just know that I could have bought big valve heads, 40 by 35 valve heads, and would it have helped my engine? Absolutely. But 1904 is one of those engines that's on the teetering edge of, you know, yeah, you could use the larger valve heads, that'd be fine, but you can also use the stock heads with a little bit of port work, because the valve size, the stock valve size, will actually outflow the ports that are in there. So just by cleaning them up, taking away some of the trouble areas, you can easily utilize a stock valved head for this application. Now, there are different heads that VW made. These are actually aftermarket Autolinea heads. They're 040 castings, and they've kind of helped us out a little bit. They've taken away a few of the problem areas already that were there with just the stock heads from 50 years ago, but nevertheless, you know, there's still some improvement that can be made. So anyways, I'm not going to rattle on here. I'm going to get to showing you where I'm making improvements here and there. Don't use me as a model for your what you decide to change. I may be wrong. I'm just trying to follow as much as I can to what's going on here, and also learning from what's been done by others. fact, I was almost nervous about even using a stock valve head because I didn't really want to hamper performance. If I had to, you know, the big valve heads weren't in my budget. We'll just get that right out there. I didn't want to spend, if I was going to spend any money on heads, I wanted Panchitos, some large valve Panchito heads, and that was a little out of my budget for this. You know, once you get a crank and cam and a few other little odds and ends, it adds up. And so, in fact, this build, we've even veered off so far from the original plan. It isn't funny, but we veered off for the better, I believe. We may go that way one of these days, and we could even use these since they're bigger bore. We could, on this other engine that's on here, we could even put some 88 cylinders in there, some thick walls, and that'd be the perfect match for that. So anyways, I digress. Let's get on to talking about what we did. All right, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but this is the untouched head. You can already see that the ports are a little wanky as far as, you know, their shape ain't perfect as it is. But, and these are really good heads. You almost have to see another head that's from a stock 70s-ish Beetle. But it's got a couple of problem areas. One of the problem areas on the Beetle head is that there's usually a big boss right in here. Well, Autolinea has fixed that. There is, I don't know if you can see it well, but that is no longer there. They've taken that out, so that really is going to help us there on the flow. But the other restriction is going to be right in here, and I don't know how well you can see that, just right in this little area. Mr. Fisher had a good little illustration here of that. As you can see, so you got on these 040 castings, you've got this valve guide in here, and there's some issues that sort of hinder flow. And so what I have tried to do is do what he recommends, taking out the roof, raise the roof a little bit, and taking out material here and here, and sort of there's usually a hump here, a little bit more of a hump, sort of blending that in a little bit to help flow. And I did exactly that on this head. You could probably see it a little bit better because it's got the shinies in it. There you go. So essentially what I did, I took out quite a bit of material. Not a lot. Most of this material I took away was right in here. And I don't know that you can contrast that well with the untouched head. You see that? See, there's quite a bit there that can kind of be taken away. And it looks like we've taken away more than you'd think, but it really isn't. It's just that it takes a little time getting in there. The best way to do this is by removing the valve guide, but most people, that's beyond what is a good idea. So I did the best I could, and I used different porting pieces, and I found that this one cutting head got me really good in there. So I basically used it as if I could just get the diameter of that right in there, then I was happy. You can tell that I have sort of changed the shape. Now Mr. Fisher, he didn't change the shape in his, but a lot of your modern porters have done that slightly. So essentially what I've done, I started out, I had to clean up a little bit of flash because my ports actually had some nasty flash here. So I started by doing that, and I wanted to get the shape right. And I've got an old a phenolic spacer that I used, and as I was creating that shape, I would then get that right on that phenolic spacer, and of course, you know, get the ports the exact same size, you know, and everything. So I'd just flip it over and make sure it all works out well. That way when I go to the next head to make sure we got her even, I just stick that baby on there and go to town. So you can already see I didn't really go crazy on this, and there's not a lot of material that I took out. So most of it, I even left, I don't know if you can tell here, I left most of this shape down here, from here all the way over alone. I didn't take out material here. I just mainly took it out up here in this corner, slightly around here. And so by taking out this area in here, see, I couldn't just have a hole there. We got to blend that in. So by doing so, I removed and smoothed out a lot of this area right here. So basically 3 places. Raising the roof slightly and getting it, and see, the whole objective is to make a straighter line, because it's your radius that is where you speed up, right? I didn't even touch down here aside from taking a one of these, you know, like a 80 and a 120, I guess. I think I left 80 there. That's what I did. I just cleaned that up just barely. I didn't take out any material, and I left it alone from here all the way down, except for one spot that I'll tell you. And I did that because you do have to have a little bit of turbulence in there. On these heads, there was a sharp edge here and up in here, and so I just kind of took that sandpaper and kind of just sort of smoothed that out a little bit. And on most heads, right in here is a very sharp corner. That's really, I even took just a hand file and I just sort of worked it a little bit because I didn't want to go crazy. You do have to have material there to keep your valve seat from bottoming out. And aside from cleaning up the exhaust, that's really where I should have left it. If I could do one thing over again, if I could get in the DeLorean, it would have been to have come back and left the size alone. I have a 1.5 inch exhaust, right? So I thought, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and open that up to my exhaust. So what I did was I took a gasket and I matched up with my exhaust, and then I trimmed out the gasket, and I brought that gasket over here and I took out the material in there and blended it there on back. I shouldn't have done that, and I'll tell you why. In my opinion, well, not my opinion, I think others will tell you that by doing so, you may actually be killing a little bit of torque, because you need a little bit of velocity right there to scavenge with, especially if you're like me and you got a tuned exhaust that, you know, 4-into-1. You need the velocity to get you out there. You're going to lose that there. So it is what it is. I did it, so I'm going to have to do it to this side too. But I think if I could advise anybody, I'd say just clean that up with your sandpaper on your rotary file, and go down to like a, you know, 120 or even more if you want. That way it keeps the exhaust gases flowing well. Anyways, I know that ain't telling you much. I'll try to show you a little bit as I get this done. It's a stifling 90 degrees out here, and I'm going to do my best to make some progress, because I want this done today. I want these all done today. That way, maybe this evening or tomorrow morning, I can get the valves slapped in, put them on there, and be ready to pop the cylinder heads on the engine, because we got to get this done. I'd like to get this engine put together this week and it be closer to firing up, because we're running out of time, but we're, like I said, we're still not behind. We can get it done. So let's get to it. All right, folks, we have started sort of working out the port of our other head here. Really, there's nothing major to explain here other than what I did was I started out, took me an old phenolic gasket spacer or whatever that I used. I thought it was a great template because it was easy to do. Anyways, I basically, when I made this particular shape, what I did, I just matched all that and I transferred this over to here. And what I did was actually, get it on there, I marked it with one of my daughter's these little markers. But I recommend maybe even taking like a lead pencil and doing that. It helps to get the lines a little bit sharper, and then you could always follow it up with that marker. But anyways, long story short, you're going to just have to work your way through and use your eyes. That's why I got this one here, because it ain't going to come right out exactly like you want it. And every head and port is, like I said, some of them are a little wonky and don't exactly match. So you got to use your eyes and your brain in doing this, and you want to take a little at a time. I've already, let me see if I can zoom up in here. Also, having a good light is also helpful. I began, as I took out this up in here, I've also began getting that in there because I had to do that to shape it. We did that on the exact same side there. I'm getting ready to quickly transition over to this guy. I've got several different rotary bits and actual machines. In fact, I even borrowed one from work so that I could change them out quickly. But yeah, I'm getting ready to go over to this guy. This thing will take out material fast, and you got to be very careful. Don't be stupid. Just do a little at a time. And that's where we're going to go ahead and get in there. And then we'll end up following it up. I'll change out to this guy to see where over here I managed to get in there and clean that out. That's what we're going to use here, because we'll need that. And just be careful not to nick up your sides, because it is easy to do. So just take it a little at a time. What I recommend, it is like, you know, a stifling 90 some odd degrees right now. I've chosen to be outside because in the garage is probably just as hot. So I recommend getting you some earbuds or some sort of music to play. Pick out something inspirational or something that helps your mind think, because you need your mind and you need inspiration in doing this. It really makes a world of difference. I'm choosing something orchestral. Later on I might switch to Dwight Yoakam, who knows. But this, it's helpful. Just take it a little at a time. You gotta just get in there, feel it, compare, and this will all be kind of fun. So anyways, we'll continue on and update you as we go. This little bit right here is perfect for getting in here, and with gloves, occasionally you can just make it more comfortable. You can set it on your pointer finger to make sure you don't screw up something. Just in little increments anyways. Occasionally it's a good idea to just go ahead and start taking your and just going in there, cleaning it up a little bit. That way you can tell a little bit better in your comparison work what you've done, because sometimes this dark doesn't help, and the shiny, it'll mess with your eyes. Alright, we've been doing a little bit of work on getting these guys sort of, you know, cleaned up with this 80 grit. And so the challenge now, we need to flip this over. We've done about as good as we can do with a lot of it, and I could show you this better if my light was a little bit better. But the other little problem areas, you can see just the slightest little ridge right there. Right there. And that right there is basically just a, a sharp corner. You just want to get that down a little bit. And also right in here. That'll help. Or at least that's what I'm told. We'll see what happens. I'll also get that out with the one of these guys, but just be very, very careful, because if we nick our seats, we're going out for a valve job. Moving on to the exhaust, I'm just going to explain once again. I probably should have left it alone. We really need the velocity for scavenging, but I did it to this one, so I gotta do it to this one. So what I did was I just essentially took one of my gaskets and I matched that up with my 1.5 inch exhaust, and I trimmed it all out and sort of put it on there, and like so, marked it with my paint pen, and I'm going to remove that much material. I don't know if this is by design. I'm really not sure, because I've never really checked them others, but it's not centered, and that may be what they wanted to do. Who knows? But yeah, I'm gonna not hog it out, but I'm at least gonna take that little area off and work it back a little bit. That way it's consistent. So let's do it. One last thing I like to do, and it kind of read up on, is a good idea, before getting into lapping these valves and everything, is I take a 120, or I think that's right, yeah, 120, and I just clean up inside here, take out this roughness that was there and get it smooth. That way, there's not as much carbon buildup that'll get on it, and I make the slightest little bit of a radius on those corners. It helps with flow. So I've kind of gotten this one done. It is probably smart to stick an old valve or something in there. That way you don't nick your seat, but I'd try my best to be careful. So anyway, just take your time here. Don't get in a rush. Watch what it's doing. All you're doing is cleaning that up. You shouldn't be taking so much material out that it would up your chamber volume. So anyways, that's what you do. Just be careful with it. Even get around the spark plugs. And there you go. We got the, I just went ahead and finished cleaning those up. I could have gone even further and went in and polished it, and I might have done that had I not been trying to, I want to get this thing buttoned up. So I didn't film the rest of the story. Essentially, I've just gone in, lapped in some 3-angle valves into these seats, and finished that off with some HD single springs, some high rev springs, because we're running a Scat C35 cam, and we will need that for that. Anyways, I am very happy with that. I've had those sitting on the shelf for some time, and I was glad to go ahead and finally get those springs on there. But yeah, there you go. She is done and ready to bolt up as far as I'm concerned. I still need to verify my volume, my port volume, just to make sure they're all even. I suspect I probably removed, my guess is 4 cubic centimeters in there, and I would almost bet that they're even. They got to be, because I stayed consistent and I didn't get crazy with it. So there you go. Anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wind this video up, because we're done with this. Aside from lapping in the cylinders to the heads, These are ready to bolt on, and I'm ready to get this done. From now on out, this project will be exponentially faster because this was really the boat anchor of the process. And so I'm glad to get it to the point where I can bolt it on. So anyways, I hope you learned something. Don't completely copy me. I'm just showing you what I did. So hopefully it was helpful. Keep up and just see where we end up with this project, and it'll be done pretty soon. So until next video, we'll see ya.